Hi, Michael here. I just made a video to sum up my tour in Catalonia, Spain, and I figured I would do a video in similar fashion to my tour in the Czech Republic. Summer of 2018, I went on a week-long bike tour in the Czech Republic. We started up in Prague and cycled on towards Vienna in Austria. I had the benefit of having some great company with me. I cycled with Darren, Kevin and Line, and we had a really wonderful week there in the Czech Republic. Starting out from Prague, we encountered two pretty hilly days in the beginning. However, from around day 3 or 4, the landscape got a lot flatter, and the last couple of days towards Vienna were really easy ones. So if you're planning on doing this tour yourself, a good tip could be to start in Vienna and get those couple of easy days in the beginning and take on those hilly days in the end. The road quality in the Czech Republic was really good. In the Greenway, you cycled on both paved roads and gravel roads, but mostly it's paved. The only bad stretch of road that we encountered were between Mikulov and the Austrian-Czech Republic border. But once we got over into Austria, the road quality was fine again. The traffic situation. Since we mostly followed the Prague-Vienna Greenway, we mostly stayed out of the heavier traffic. However, a few roads were on regular car roads, but the traffic on those weren't that intense. Sometimes we had to deviate from the Greenway, and at those times we experienced a bit of heavier traffic. We had to go on some highways to enter towns. And as you can see in the video, the cars really didn't maintain a decent distance between us and themselves. So it was a bit scary sometimes, but overall it was okay. Prices on food in the Czech Republic are pretty reasonable, I would say. We only ate at restaurants during our days in Prague, and at those times a normal dinner with a glass of wine or a beer would cost just under 10 euros. And you could find lunch options for around 3 to 4 euros in Prague. Out on the road we didn't stop to eat at any restaurants, but the supermarket prices were pretty reasonable. I suspect you could probably live off of 6 or 7 euros per day. Prices for camping, well, those prices varied a lot. The first night we found this wonderful free campsite, but on other nights we paid around 8 to 10 euros for campsites. And one night we stayed at a pension, which is kind of a cheaper hotel, and that cost us around 75 euros split in 3 ways, so 25 euros per person. Okay, we can head on to the questions. Brett Irvine wants to know, would you say that the 2 final days were less spectacular than the earlier ones? I'm planning to do a tour from Vienna to Prague in 2019. Well, Brent, yeah, the last 2 or 3 days weren't as nice as the first 3, I would say. I really liked, even though the first couple of days were really hilly, I thought the landscape up just south of Prague was really great, and the landscape just north of Vienna wasn't that spectacular. Maybe it was mostly just farmland up until the town of Mikolov. Philion asks, why Prague to Vienna instead of the other way around? Well, Phil, Darren had sort of planned this tour, and Kevin was flying to Prague and so was I. So we found that the easiest option was to cycle from Prague down to Vienna. That's mainly the only reason. I think you would be just as fine going the other way around. In fact, I think that could even be a better option. Then you can get sort of a couple of easy days in the beginning and tackle the hilly days at the end of the tour. But it all depends on what your flight options are. I was actually first planning on flying home from Prague as well, but then I found the flight from Vienna, which made everything a lot easier to not have to go back to Prague again. Brent Irvine wants to know if the Greenway route was well marked or if we had GPX files to follow. Well, the answer is kind of a combination of both. Upon going to the Czech Republic, we took information from this site called the Prague-Vienna Greenways, and if you click on this yellow thing up here, you can get a map of the whole route from Prague down to Vienna. And we follow this green route over here. So if you click on this, you get a more detailed route for each day. Then I headed over to a map site called Mapy.cz, where I could find a more detailed route of the Prague-Vienna Greenway. And I later plotted this in another map application and added it to my Garmin. But to save you a lot of hassle, you can just follow the links in the video, and that'll lead you to my Garmin Connect page where you can download the GPX files. So if you just click on this little cogwheel up here and then choose export to GPX, and the file starts to download over here, and then you have the GPX file which you can add to your Garmin or smartphone. Alan asks, what was the distance between Prague to Vienna? Well, Alan, I think we cycled around 450 kilometers during the whole week, or during 6 days, and that was including the distance to go to the campsite we stayed at. So that makes around 70 kilometers each day. I would suggest for those of you thinking about doing this tour to set off 7 days instead of 6. Like you could see in the video, we didn't really make it to Vienna during the 6th day. I had to jump on the train with around 30 or 40 kilometers left to go. So I think planning this trip for 7 days would be ideal. That way you don't have to rush through some of the parts to be able to get to Vienna in time. Okay, I'm gonna butcher this name, but I'm gonna give it a try anyways. Mr. Sarmradoc wants to know about the tent I was using during this trip. I was using the Nature Hike Cloud Up 2, and if you click on the link either in the description or up here somewhere, you can go and check out my review of the tent. The tent served me really well on the trip, although we didn't encounter that much rain. I think we only had one evening where it rained, and I waited to set up my tent until the rain had passed by, so the tent stayed pretty dry all week long. The morning after it had rained, the grass was all damp around us, so I got a tiny bit of condensation inside of my tent, but just putting it up to dry for 10 minutes solved that. So This was the first long trip I did with the Nature Hike tent, and I'm really pleased with it so far. And this is also a name I'm gonna butcher. Bicicleta wants to know, how is the Kona Sutra so far? Well, as the previous question, if you just click on the card up here or in the description, you can go to see a review of my Kona Sutra in another video. But overall, I'm really satisfied with the bike. It's really stable, and yeah, it's great for both riding on gravel and pavement, and I couldn't really have any complaints about it so far. Minicon wants to know what the airport personnel said about the plastic bag I was checking in with the bike when I was going home. I've flown with this CTC bag a couple of times now, and I've really never had any problems with checking in. I guess it's mainly the airlines that determine on in what shape you can fly your bike. And I've flown with SAS before, and also Norwegian, and those two airlines has never been a problem. I was flying home with Austrian Airlines now, and I just mailed them before and got a okay from them to ship my bag in the CTC plastic bag. So a good tip would be to do a little bit of research before, but usually it's no problem flying with a bike in a plastic bag. And the last question of the day is from Emily Martin. She wonders if I have some travel insurance that covers me when I'm traveling internationally. Well, Emily, my homeowner's insurance covers me when I'm traveling abroad. It covers me for the first 45 days, and if I want to stay longer than that, I just pay a small fee for each day above those 45 days. And when I'm traveling inside of the EU, I always bring this card with me. This one is issued from the Swedish government, and that lets me use medical treatment in the whole European Union for the same fee that I would pay if I go to a healthcare facility back home here in Sweden, which is about 30 euros. So as long as I bring this card with me, I don't have to worry about expensive medical bills. Well, that was all for this summary / Q&A from my bike tour down in the Czech Republic. If you have any additional questions, please write them in the comments section below. And as usual, until next time, have a good one.